Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to round one of the Zwift Grand Prix. We have such an exciting series of racing to bring to you over the next few months. And although Zwift Racing League and the Z Racing Monthly Series has already started, the Elite Racing on Zwift starts right now, today, with the men taking on round one of the Zwift Grand Prix. As always, Dave Toll is next to me again over the next few months. Dave, so much is going on right now. How are you feeling?
I am pumped, Nathan. No doubt about it. We are ready for what's going to be the pinnacle of the Zwift racing community, and the formats we will see over the next few months are going to level up what we've already seen so far. So, Nathan, let's take a look at what we've got coming up.
Yeah, a lot might be asking, so what is the Zwift Grand Prix? This new series from Zwift takes in 6 rounds of regular season racing before culminating in a grand finale in March of 2023. Each week of racing will feature a brand new event format, never seen before in cycling, with the aim of bringing the excitement of esports to this new discipline.
Yeah, expect the racing to be more strategic, more gamified, more specialized, and even more exciting than ever. We've got 24 of the world's best Zwift teams raring to go, and they actually helped design these new formats themselves. Their input was invaluable, and it's extremely unique.
Yeah, each round will feature the men's race one week, followed by the women's race the next week. And with the extra focus on each of these teams, each of these races, you're going to get to know the teams, the individual riders, and the head-to-head battles better than ever. Every rider will need to contribute as the points scored each week will accumulate over the season to see which team makes the grand final.
Yeah, we can't wait to bring you all of this action. It's going to be incredible to see what the racers do when presented with this opportunity. And of course, there's plenty for you all to do at home to make sure that you are involved. Head over to Zwift.com/racing to see what is on offer, and whether you're looking for your first race or are logging into an event and dropping power ups like a boss. We'll love seeing you out there on a daily basis.
Round one of the Zwift Grand Prix is Parcours Pickers, with the men racing first this week. Parcours Pickers is a round where teams will select 5 riders to take part in 5 different races, one rider per race, on different parcours, though, utilizing different formats. Let's take a look at each race, though, briefly before getting into a bit more of the details.
In the history of esports on the timeline, this is a benchmark moment. Welcome to Zwift Grand Prix and our first ever race. They've shown us the course, and it's McCurry Islands where we'll be heading, and the Neokyo Crit course is on offer. Our teams are going to be fighting for points out here, and you can see that they'll be sprinting twice at the Alley Sprint and twice at the Castle Park Sprint for 3, 2, and 1 points in descending order. There's going to be a lot of teams walking away empty-handed as the battle royale begins with these 4 power-ups on offer. You can see you have an equal chance of getting the arrow, invisibility, burrito, or draft. We'll see how they come into play. It's a reduced field on a short, fast, and furious circuit. There's not a lot of climbing, but we're going to see intensity at the highest level ever out here. All of the teams have selected their riders. We are locked and loaded as we'll be heading down for our first of 5 events. Back to you, Nathan.
And for the teams today, Abus Lacole lining up today next to Arrow coming out of Australia. It's going to be Coalition Alpha out there. Hexagon presented by Saris, a mainly French team. Callus Esports presented by Wahoo Burke. It's going to be Movistar E-Team out there. Next Esports presented by Insured. Team Castelli presented by Elite, the Italian team. Team Swedish Swifters are out there, as well as Toyota Cryo RDT. Velocio coming out of the east coast of America. And then it's going to be Wahoo Lacole rounding up our lineup for the teams today.
It's going to take a diverse talent group on your team to be able to be successful in this format. Let's take a look at the gladiators as they enter the arena in this historic moment. Gianni Kuhlmann there for the Abus Lecole team, formerly known as BZR, but get used to this kit as it's going to be all over the front of the race. Ben Hill comes in as one of the big favorites here. The selections were only just put into the officials, so we are realizing now that Spencer Segerbush is going to be representing the Coalition Alpha team. Nathan was talking about the French-based squad, and it will be Pierre Felbrath racing there. Felbrath, a danger man, certainly comes in with a tremendous amount of talent. He'll be looking to make his mark. This is one of the strongest teams in the world, and they've chosen Simon Nielsen here, looking at that black and red of the Kalas team. This is going to be Jonas Bjarhed for Movistar taking the start with a rider that all eyes will be on. No doubt the American Jay Brune, as a Continental champion winner last year. Certainly Jay Brune is going to be one of the biggest danger men that we've got in the Zwift Grand Prix. Riccardo Panizza, the Italian here with the Castelli presented by Elite Team. They really made their mark in last season and looking to do even more. Swedish Zwifters, such a consistent team, and they brought one of their cornerstones to the first race, Johan Ridney. It's going to be Jack Poli taking the start for the legendary Cryo RDT team. This is the team Velocio. It's a team that has been phenomenal in the community as they've ascended up into the highest level of racing. This is their opportunity to really hit hard. And Yumeto Shigihara is the rider that they'll be counting on in the first race. And then to round things out for the mighty, mighty Wahoo Lecole team, this is their starter, Mark Matting. That's a good look at the 12 teams. Their riders, again, with 5 races, they had to make some tough choices here, Nathan. And these are the riders who made the cut for race number 1.
And here we go. Riders out on course for 7.2 kilometers. We are in Neokyo. This is going to be it. People are going to be looking for all the points they can possibly grab on the day today, and it's head to head today. It's going to be absolutely awesome to see these riders take on this new Parcours Pickers race number 1, Dave.
Yeah, thank you, Nathan. All right, I'm wondering how long this group stays together here. Again, 4 sprints coming up, scoring 3 deep, 3 points for the first man over the line. So let's go ahead and see who's going to pick up the first points here. I have a feeling there's an attack, and there we go. Bjarhed, the Swedish rider, moving to the front, Nathan.
Yeah, Bjarhed looks like making sure he's not out of position here at this point. I have a feeling we're going to get a little bit of track standing going on here as things open up initially. There's so many points up for grabs each time they go through these banners. It's going to be absolutely crucial they set up perfectly for the timing, knowing that it's going to be all on each individual rider for their entire team coming into these banners. Man, there is not going to be any lead out train for you. It is heads up racing, watching out for who goes first, because you want to grab that wheel. Not allow them to get that jump, grab those meters maybe if they're going to be the first to go, but are you going to be the lead out train? There's a lot of tactics here, Dave. Ben Hill goes first, Dave.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so he's going to open his account. This is the Australian on the Aero team. It's only 7.2K of racing with 4 monumental sprints out here. And he's certainly, now you can see the fire socks. So some level 50 at play out there. And that's going to be Spencer Segerbush of the Coalition team. Segerbush has hit out with authority. And it looks like, Nathan, he might grab the first 3 points here and put Coalition Alpha on the board. Boom, boom, there you go.
Yes. Segerbrook takes it down. What a jump from him from the middle of the pack. Did you see the tactics there from him, Dave? He allowed Ben to be the bait, and then from there, from the middle of the pack, made a huge jump at 15 watts per kilogram, caught everybody off guard, and now he grabs the first 3 points for Coalition Alpha. What a great way to represent that OG awesome esports team.
Jonas Bjarhed will score in the silver spot with 2 points, and it's going to be Mark Matting for Wahoo Lacole, the third rider through. So everything going to settle back down again. It's almost like watching a pot boiling over, but then they turn the temperature down. But you know when it goes full gas again, I'm expecting a split after this next sprint. Again, coming up here, we have another 3, 2, and 1 points on offer. So this is the pattern that we're going to get in. 4 total sprints here today, but what a way to start the season. One of the top teams of all time, Coalition Alpha, taking the points with the man out of St. Louis, Missouri, Spencer Segerberg. Spencer's been spending a lot of time racing on the velodrome, and that is clearly going to make a difference out here. It's such a unique skill set. Every rider has an opportunity to make points out here. These opportunities don't come along enough in life, and certainly when you have a chance to make your mark, they're looking to make it out here. So let's go into our next sprint round here. Is everything pretty chill right now, Nathan?
Yeah, we did see Ben Hill off the back for a moment there. He had to chase hard to get back on terms. That early attack that he made ended up putting him out the back a little bit. Now, Poli, though, goes very early. A little bit of a jump, 10.5 watts per kilogram. That's not a full gas sprint from somebody in this field. He does get the gap out to, it looks like about 30 meters or so at this point. They've allowed him a couple of seconds, interesting enough. I'm not sure if this is going to hang on, but now they're kind of looking at each other, Dave. This is danger.
Well, red alert. Yeah, red alert, no doubt about it. This is going to cause major problems for guys back in the peloton. I think they've underestimated our leader right now, Cryo RDT, one of the OG teams, and this is an outstanding play here. Catching him on the back foot, Nathan. Great job, tactically astute from Cryo. You'd expect that.
Yeah, I have a feeling here, 7 seconds, I think he's just walked away with his 3 points. They have let him get enough rope to work with here, and they're just sprinting for second at this point. He's even got an arrow power up, throws down. Segerberg's trying to come through with the jump, it looks like. If we look behind at 13 watts per kilogram on the right-hand side, you can see the position still, but Poli here for CryoDT, he just walks away with this one. He's got a solid amount of time, 7.5 seconds at this point over the chase coming from Segerberg. He takes on the point first. Segerberg goes to show that he's got the strongest kick, it looks like, out of the pack, and then Brune from next, it looks like, for third.
And this is a very dangerous moment right at the mid part of the race. I do believe that Spencer will hold on, as he's going to be our top point getter out here with 5 total. And let's see what happens now. This is the most dynamic moment that we've seen. Again, the 4 different power-ups that they have access to is going to be Arrow, Invisibility, Burrito, and Draft. And here we go, Nathan. This is going to be John Brune moving up to the front, the very, very strong American on the Next Insured team.
Now, these riders do have DSs in their ear. They are definitely getting instructions here at this point. And Brune over the top here at 6 watts per kilogram with that feather power up. To me, it looked like he had information to know that there are riders off the back. Don't allow them to catch easily. Mounting now over the top. We've seen this rider out of the community races in ZRL over and over again do something just like this. This guy can go at high wattage for a very long time. Brune's going to jump on that freight train, and this may be a situation where riders do not want to work together behind. Remember, there are no teams together here. There's every rider for themselves. Are they going to have some sort of a truce to chase this down, Dave?
Well, this is perfect for these two. If they can, all you need to do is count on one other guy to keep working. And if they can split this workload evenly, these two will walk away with, at a minimum, you'd get 4 points. A maximum would be 6 points in these next 2 sprints. And these guys are gone. What a wild moment here. They have cracked the code. So this is going to be our chasers that we're looking at. The Velocio rider Shigahara is now all in. It might come back together, but Nathan scored that one for our 2 brave riders. They say fortune favors the brave, and that is absolutely playing out in front of our eyes right now.
And here we go, 2.5K of racing left to go. They're about to head over to the next section for the sprint here. And Brune kicks over the top of Malding. Malding does have the arrow power up behind him, but it's going to be Brune, it looks like, absolutely digging all in to grab it. And he grabs those 3 points for next. And this is going to jump them up on that leaderboard in a major way that they need right now, because Spencer has grabbed so many points so far for that Coalition Alpha team. So next now, putting themselves in contention for this first race today in the Parcours Pickers.
And you can see the total points earned out here. Now, even though it's individual riders, this is the most points that their teams have as well right now. Let's see if Spencer can get back into the mix. He's on top of the table with 5 points. This is the chase that we're looking at now. So that's going to be Poli of the Cryo RDT team. And Shigahara there in the yellow jersey for Velocio. Spencer Segerbush, the top point getter, is in the purple and lavender jersey there as we take a look at Biathead as well, sitting there in the Movistar kit. So this is the chase. Those two up the road, though, Nathan, I don't know that they're coming back. They're both very, very strong, and they seem to be simpatico.
I mean, working together as a duo here at this point is such an advantage because the rest of these riders behind, they're not going to be shaking hands as well as these two, right? These two know that they have points up the road for them that will absolutely score 1 and 2 no matter what. They might fight it out for those points when they come to the line, but right now they're working together. Their truce is going to be way better from what we say behind, because behind, if you're on the front with all those riders sitting in, there's no way you want to work to try and sacrifice that kind of energy at this point. You might end up saying, look, I'm going to win from the pack rather than try and chase down those two up ahead.
Yeah, it's mutually beneficial for both of these guys to keep working together. That's why they've gone all in. I mean, they've both got the 20-pound sledge and are wailing away, and they're not coming back. At 1K to go with such a small group, it is like racing out of the breakaway out here. There's no team that's got numbers. The organized chase is almost impossible to imagine, and the worst that you walk away with is 2 points here, and that's much better than the mean average because there's only 1 point left behind these two, and Spencer wants it. Spencer Segerbush kicking out of that chase. This is really a separate bike race going on right now, Nathan. We've got the top two. They're going to get 3 and 2 points, and they're going to walk away, putting their teams on top of the table. But Spencer Segerbush, who's scored on just about every sprint so far, is looking to add 1 more point here for Coalition Alpha. But it's going to be tough. Here we go into the final 400 meters, Nathan.
460 meters to go, and Brune's going to kick. He's got one of the best 1 minute powers in the game, but here comes Ridney. Ridney coming from the Swedish Swifters. He comes over the top. He launches out of that attack from Segerbrook. Now is Maddie going to be able to hold on? He's got 13 watts per kilogram. He's got the aero power up, and here comes WLC. Wahoo Lacole looking to shut this one down, and it looks like they are going to close it out. Brune from next comes through for second. Ridney holds on with that attack, trying to come over the top late, but doesn't hold on for first. He gets third. Wow, what an amazing first go at Parcours Pickers.
Well, how about Matting there? He scores on the cycle, Nathan, as he'll pick up points in the first, the second, and the third place position out there. And that should be, that's on top of my head, but I believe he gathered 6 points along the way. He has to be our star of the day. That was incredible consistency, and certainly linking up with Jay Brune out there, the next team, was a smart move. This is exciting, and that's just one of 5 races that we have for you here today.
Yeah, nice move there by Brune and Madding. They were able to, it looks like, tire out the rest of that pack with that break, rest up just enough as the pack was trying to close things down, and then kick again over the top into those final few hundred meters. We'll get the points up as soon as possible, but really cool to see the way that they took this course on. There wasn't, up front, a little bit of that track standing, wait, watch each other, but then from there on, the gloves came off, Dave, and everyone just started going bananas, using everything they possibly could. And WLC, as well as Next, they shook hands a little bit and said, look, we're the top teams out here. Really coming into this, they are kind of the favorites, you know, Dave. In my opinion, they have shown in the ZRL, they've shown in the past that they just have the quality of riders as well as the tactic and the skill when it comes to their de-essing too. I've always seen amazing de-essing coming from their team. I think those two, they showed it here in this first go.
Yeah, the teams had to make some tough choices, Nathan. A lot of the teams are not self-directed, but there's a lot of input on the team, a brain trust, if you will. And I would use Next and Short as a great example of that. Jay Brune certainly got them off to a good start. Spencer Segerbush can be very proud of the way he got Coalition Alpha rolling out there. You might think, hey, that looks a lot like the old Canyon team. That's the case. Esports, things are always moving forward, no doubt about it, including this format. So, Nathan, we're going to be staying in the Mercury Islands here, but it's going to be an entirely very different kind of race that we're looking forward to. We're going to shift into really our only scratch race of the 5 races that make up the Zwift Grand Prix. Generally, they're points races. We do have one race that they'll be on their time trial bikes coming up a little bit later. Draft has been turned off, but Nathan, it sounds like the supercomputer that they've got at Zwift HQ is just about ready to spit out our points and our standings. And let's take a look, Nathan, at the points from this race.
Yeah, and what'll be interesting to see here is how it played out for Coalition Alpha. Wahoo Cole end up tying it up with 6 points each to them and Next Esports, presented by Insured. Then Coalition Alpha, and that's that early kick from Segerbrook that we saw. Segerbrook was able to grab a lot of points early on, but the sacrifice early on, I think, got countered pretty hard by those top 2 teams. Toyota Car DT come in for 4th with some points, 3rd on 3 points on the day, or so far on the day. Movistar E-Team in 5th right now with 2 points. It's going to be Team Swedish Swifter grabbing 1 point, Velocio with 7. The rest of the teams, we've got 0 points on the board. They've got a lot to make up, but that's the thing about the parkour pickers. We still have 4 races and really strong individuals where these teams may put their stronger riders into the later races, and they're like, okay, you know, this first one, that was a nice go at it. Some of the riders, I mean, John Brune was put in by Knox next. You know, I mean, he's one of their strongest sprinters. So obviously they really put a lot of bet on that first race.
Yeah, absolutely. They almost have an embarrassment of riches, Nathan, on that Next Insured team. They've got a rider for every situation. I do see that Zach Nair is going to be taking the start in the next race here, and certainly a good choice there. So that's one of the things that makes Parcours Picker so much fun is we don't know going into the race what the teams have done with their riders and what races they've played.
Like 5 to 10 minute rider. We've seen him over and over again go with a few K to go and stay away from a group. Now it makes a little bit more sense to me. Seed a tree, hill climb all in. This is going to be your riders that just got an amazing VO2 to try and grab up to 12 points across the finish line. And you saw what we saw in the points just a moment ago for the teams, 6 and 6 at the top. 12 is going to really bump you up. So this is a very crucial part of these 5 races right now, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. It's only 3.9K, but this is going to be a journey through the depths of the pain cave, no doubt about it. So this is our hill climb. You can see again, scoring is going to be different for each of our races. And this one has some absolute monsters in it. Leonard Tugels, the Belgian, is taking the start for Abus Lecole. Gary Mueller, the South African for Coalition Alpha, is in the mix. Christian Offendal, Pierre Almeida with Hexagon, Kalish, the team for Christian Offendal, and our man is back, KBH, one of the most popular riders, the people's champion for Velocio, is in this field. So this gives us a look at the riders to watch. Jerry Eriksson there for Swedish Swifters, and highlight Martin Mertens here, another rider of note. So this is going to be an absolute Donnybrook. 12 points are waiting for the first rider. This is as close as we get to a natural bike race. We have a start line, a finish line. First over the line takes the top points. There's no bonuses. But Nathan, we should talk quickly about the power-ups available because there aren't any.
No power-ups, just right to the top of the climb. And, you know, we look at this lineup, essentially, if you were thinking of a GC, like who's your GC contenders, I feel like that's who they've put in here when it comes to, you know, if you're going to get into that kind of a stage race situation, who's going to be your best climber or your best overall just VO2 / 20-minute power type rider. That's what this is right here when it comes to the riders that have been selected. Top talent when it comes to just being able to go full gas for 5 minutes. And that's what we're going to see here in just a moment. I wonder if they're going to be watching each other a little bit, though, up front, or if somebody's just going to go right from the get-go.
Well, I would expect there's going to be a little more tactics than just hitting it from the start because drafting comes to play, Nathan. So unlike a little bit later in Innsbruck Ring where there is no draft and it would make more sense to do what you're talking about, I have a feeling these guys are going to cat and mouse a little bit on the climb. Again, you've got to be able to make the watts per kilo to even be in that conversation. Let's be honest. This is going to be over a 6 watts per kilo effort out here to win this one. Nathan, as a matter of fact, this might even inch up on, or I should centimeter up on 6.4, 6.5 watts per kilo, because it's not going to be a long time in the saddle. But I'm anticipating, Nathan, that this one hurts more than any other in our 5 parkour races.
Quick little reminder on the format here. Parkour Pickers race 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all different races and routes with different ways of scoring points. And right now, you're about to see a scratch race with a hill climb to the top of Sea of Tree course in McCurry Islands. The total distance is 3.84 kilometers. The elevation, 123 meters of climbing. Leonard Tugels, Zach Neer, Kevin Bouchard Hall, all in the same race to the top of a KOM right now. Those 3 names, oh man, Dave, this is about to go bonkers between these. Almeida, Brandlin as well, if they're able to hold on to the wheels of these climbing monsters and then kick to the line, this is going to be awesome, Dave.
All right, we have just heard from Race Central that they are within 30 seconds of launching this group into orbit. So andiamo, gentlemen, let's have at it out here. Again, this is like being in the breakaway with about 4K to go to a mountaintop finish. This is what Zwift Grand Prix is all about. The riders are receiving their final countdown right now as they hit out, as the countdown is into the final couple of seconds. And Nathan, they are out on course. This is going to be awesome. Let's go.
Well, and as we get out on course, let's see if we can get the riders as they head on through to the Sea of Tree hill climb.
We're still out on McCurry Island here, so this has been a very popular recent addition to the Zwift Worlds. But these riders are going to be bracing themselves at the start. There's no question. This is going to be like the Donner Party's final days. This group's going to be attacking each other almost instantly. There's a tremendous amount to gain by being brave out here. 12 points for the first rider over the line. This will be the first time, I believe it was 4 of our teams, maybe even 6 of the teams that took a goose egg out of round number 1 with 0 points there. So everybody at least is going to get up onto the table with the point. I should mention while we have a moment here, Nathan, that we've changed the scoring system quite a bit. As the season-long 6-race battle for the men, and we will have the women out racing next week, it's 25 points that the top team, after we add up everything from the 5 races today, that the top team will have 25 points, 18 points for the second-place team, 15 for third. So much more similar to like F1, the Formula One table that we're using.
And as we're waiting for a few more seconds, it looks like, for images now, just between these riders here, Dave, we're talking about these matchups here. Mark Bosted is actually a rider that might not have the best kick to the line, but I'd be watching out for him definitely if it just came to a steady effort all day long. But it looks like to me, from the way that they're playing this right now, as we get the images, everybody's watching each other, I think, Dave, before we actually hit the climb proper.
Well, as they should, right? Nobody wants to stick their head out to have their neck get chopped, because they realize how talented this group is. So right now, you want to just try to keep it chill. Vergalito is the Castelli rider. They've got that new white jersey that we see. Leonard Tugels, one of the biggest stars that we've seen in ZRL racing over the last couple of years. But I have to think that this course suits the styles of KVH, and the yellow jersey there right in the middle of the group. This seems right up Kevin Bouchard Hall's. There you go. Tugels, though, Nathan, going to take the first turn off the front now.
Yeah, and immediately as they hit the dirt, perfect timing for Tugels there. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's making sure that nobody is on his wheel the moment that he jumps onto the section where it becomes way more difficult to hold a wheel. That's exactly what was going on here. Tugels, 7.7 watts per kilogram, puts everybody into a world of hurt. There is 1 second gap, as you can see on the right-hand side there, still between this front group and the rest of the riders. They're still trying to get completely on turns. Now Virgilito here now goes to the front from Team Castelli, presented by Elite. And now Movistar take over. Look at them. Zach Neer right on through, though. Zach Neer at 7 watts per kilogram on the Tron bike. Look at this.
Yeah, with Bouchard Hall on his wheel. These two have been battling like Godzilla and Mothra over the last couple of seasons. That's KBH to the front now. Zach Nair probably comes in as the hottest tip to take the 12 points out here, but Leonard Tugel certainly wants to prove that wrong. Boy, Nathan, I think Battle Royale is underserving what we're going to have out here. So they're already just pinning it now. Watching the data here, when the numbers go orange, that's at 7 watts per kilo. I'm not sure if any of these guys in this group, Nathan, well, they certainly have to be level 50 Zwifters. Let's see if any of them can turn their socks on fire out here.
Tugels continues at 8 watts per kilogram, just looking for the moment they hit the dirt to just keep his pace, it looks like, and try and ride everyone off his wheel. It looks like Brandon looking to come across it, and as well as Kevin Bouchard Hall. This first couple of kicks here is going to be the separations. I've raced this very recently, and these little bumps here, or little bumps in quotes there, as they get into these orange numbers over and over again, they'll create an initial separation, I think, in this pack, and then from there, they'll be looking for the final 2 bumps later that get very sharp into the double digits of percentages, actually. But Tugels, he's getting a second. They might be watching him walk away, because at 8.4, he seems to be confident he can hold this all the way through.
Boy, it's going to be very interesting to watch. Nathan, this seems like one of the easier selections for our directors, as going with your best climber on this one certainly makes a lot of sense. But it's a power climb, isn't it?
Brandlin coming across, it looks like 10 watts per kilogram from Brandlin. He knows that's a move he wants to get on top of, and it looks like he grabs the wheel here. Nice little closing of the gap there coming from Brandlin. They've got 2.5 seconds after they went through that little roller. The speed still matters. Now at 3 seconds, it looks like we have a 2 up between Tugels and Brandlin.
Yeah, I thought Brandlin was maybe going to sit there a little bit longer, just trying to help Leonard Tugels finish up what was on his plate. That's the name of the game out here. But now Tugels, very, very savvy. He's going to sit on the wheel of the Movistar rider. Looking back behind them, the Italian Vergalito is right there. Martin Mertens is now starting to push. He's sitting in the top 5, but I'm still keeping my eye on Zach Nair here, as Nair is going to be a part of the conversation.
Yeah, here we go. Brandlin leading things out. Now it's going to get a little cagey. 750 meters to go. 3 seconds. If that pack really puts a dig in, they may be able to close it down on this final dig over the top of this orange number percentage. But now Tugels kicks again. 11 watts per kilogram. Brandlin looking to respond, but it's not going to be happening. Into that 600 meters to go. Martin's trying to come across a 2 seconds gap. I think Tugels now might have this one.
Yeah, I think Martins has got to be more concerned about what's going on behind him, as Leonard Tugels is an absolute monster out here. He's still holding on to nearly 7 watts per kilo. Brandlin trying to close it down, and he's going to. Brandlin comes up, and over the top. Unbelievable. The final few hundred meters here, Nathan. Wow!
Tugels looking to try and hang on. Brandlin does go for the top. That was completely unexpected. Here comes Alvarado. Alvarado waited to this final moment, but no, Tugels has another kick. 12 watts per kilogram, and to the line with 200 meters. It looks like it's going to be Tugels, but Alvarado is charging hard with Brandlin on his wheel, but it looks like Tugels going to hold on to a 1 second gap for 12 points across the line for Abus Lecole, Alvarado, Brandlin, Martins, Nair, KBH, all in the top 7.
Adrian Alvarado with a breakthrough ride out there, Nathan. We talked about who's that rider that's going to come out of the woodwork. Well, that would be Adrian Alvarado. An exceptional performance to hold on for second place points out there. He'll pick up the 11. But Abus Lecole with Leonard Tugels, Leonard Superstar Tugels picking up the 12 points. Movistar there with 10. Again, this will be added to the points that were garnered in the first of our 5 races at Parcours Picker. So Nathan, quickly, I'll work a little further down the table here, as Cryo ending up with 9, Velocio and KBH picking up 8 points, next with 7, Coalition Alpha with 6, Castelli with 5 points, Arrow for 4, Swedish Swifters 3, Kalash 2, and Hexagon 1 point. Well, Nathan, now you start wondering the picks that were made by the directors. Obviously, Leonard Tugels was the right man for the course. Are you going to regret not having him later?
Yeah, well, Leonard watched
well,
the wrap
12,
yesterday, and I
right?
because I called Abus Lecole yesterday as being the pick, and I'm thanking Leonard right now for throwing down a 12 watt per kilogram kick at the end. Man, wow, that was amazing coming from Tugels, and he waited for the dirt. kicked at 8, 9 watts per kilogram into the dirt, got a little bit of a gap, and then it was like backed off, sat in the pack, and then the moment it actually started heading uphill, he went to the front at 8 and just set his pace. Brandon comes across, then they kind of work together a little bit. The interesting thing, though, out of all of that, I keep on thinking of Wahoo Lako's de-essing. Alvarado sat in and sat in and sat in and waited and trusted that that 3 seconds could be closed down, because at the end of this course, there are some downhills and there is some speed to be gained from the pack. And he jumped across, it looked like, after waiting long enough and conserving just enough energy to take that second over the top of Brandland.
Well, next up, we've got one of the hardest courses that you can imagine, and it's not the duration, it's the intensity out here. We're going to take a look at our standings, though, before we jump into race number 3. Let's see where things stand right now. So this is going to be the first 2 races, and Wahoo Lacole, Nathan, look at this, 17 total points with a nice little buffer heading into the middle part of this race. Next, Esport remained consistent with 13 points in second, and Toyota Cryo RDT tied with Movistar and Avis Lacole at 12 points right now. So that brings you down through your top 5. Then you look at Coalition Alpha, just 1 point behind that. And this is where you start to see that separation, Nathan. So for the first 2 races now, Velocio's got a little bit of work to do, but they're still in the conversation at 9 points. 8th right now for the Italian-based Castelli, presented by Elite. They're sitting on 5 points in 8th place. 9th place now for Team Swedish Swifters with 4 points. They're tied with Aero, the Australian esports racing organization. Hexagon, presented by Ceres, right now with 2 points in 11th, and Callis is looking to step things up here in the back end of the Zwift Grand Prix. So that's our round 1 standings after 2 of 5 events. Next up, again, we'll be heading to Yorkshire.
Race number 3 in this parkour pickers is going to be Tour of Tewit. Well, points race, 1 lap, total distance is 10.74 kilometers, and the elevation is 205 meters. Now, as you can see here, Yorkshire Climb and the finish line are the 2 points to 2 places where you can grab points out on course. The Aero power up, the invisibility power up, the lightweight, as well as the anvil are going to be on grabs for power ups. Remember, the anvil recently being changed. It only works when it is a downhill gradient, actually. If you activate that power up, you now get it the entire time you use it for the downhill gradients. So interesting here, may change things a lot out on course. This course, when we were looking at it in pre-production, made us scared. Like, this is so incredibly difficult. Pot, bank, climb, then into the climb back over toward the finish line. You've got the initial climb with the KOM. It's going to be bonkers out here today.
There's some big, big names to watch out here as well. Some of the most successful riders in previous seasons of ZRL are represented, like Brian Duffy Jr. of the Next, presented by Insured Team. And Nathan, here's an absolute monster. Pin Van Diemen of Movistar is in the mix. So not only is the course tough, the level of competition has never been higher as we get a look at Luca Zanasca sneaking in there. That Italian is going to be an absolute pivot point on this race. And I know that Charles McCarthy has a tremendous number of fans. Let's jump right into the action. Tour of Tewit Well in just a couple minutes. So the riders are in the pen, Nathan, and I can only imagine the nerves are building.
100%. And looking at this lineup, interesting. Brian Duffy Jr., I always felt like was a little bit more of a kick to the line rider, but I think that he can hold over the top of these shorter punches and be in it for the win at the end for Next, presented by Insured. So it's interesting. Now, Eddie Uli there as well. Watch out for him. He is a kind of rider I've seen many times on Libby Hill, which is a similar type of climb here over in Richmond. I've seen him many times over the top of there with the best time amongst and able to really kick into a climb. So these choices here, as you look at them, it really starts to bring out the talents of this team in these individual riders.
Yeah, Nathan, we've seen Eddie Uhl step up time and time again. Doesn't matter who he's facing. It's almost like the David and Goliath. He seems to constantly deliver. Sam Hill, as well, the Aero rider, has had tremendous success in esports racing. So this is another opportunity, though, for that rider to come out of the woodwork. I'm looking at you, Alexei. Alexei Kalman here of the Kalish team is going to be very interesting to watch. Again, this is, in my estimation, Nathan, the toughest of the 5 races that we have as far as all of the different elements out here, because the tactics are going to be at an all-time high. If you go with the move too early, you can certainly find yourself behind the 8 ball out here. So you've got to play your cards right. This is going to be where I would put my most experienced rider. I would have to say your comments about Brian Duffy, he's always been a closer, but I think he's built himself up to be more of a classic style racer now as well, which would fit this course. This was basically the hard part of the 2019 World Championship course. So I know the riders are receiving their countdown and they are just launching now. So here we go, Nathan. Tour of Tewit well underway as we are in Yorkshire. This is race 3 of 5. Welcome, everyone. Glad to have you with us here for the Zwift Grand Prix.
Yeah, to me, it looks like Next, presented by Insured, as well as Abel's Nicole, have kind of stacked this race with their 20-minute powerhouses, those riders that just can really throw down for a longer period of time. Duffy Jr. also has a really solid 16 watt per kilogram sprint, but I think you're right. I'm looking at a 5.4 watt per kilogram average over 20 minutes for Brian Duffy Jr. now. I think he's kind of brought that up, actually. The highest, though, amongst them, Joe Perot has come up a little bit, but Brian Duffy, now we're looking at him on screen right now. They're going to go downhill and take a left-hand turn into the initial KOM, and the first points that are on offer are right up front within the first few minutes of this course here, Dave.
Yeah, Brian Duffy Jr. really personifies what this next team is all about. These guys race hard, they race with spirit, but it's a band of brothers, no doubt. This is going to be Steinman here. Wahoo Lacole has been phenomenal so far. This is a team that really understands their Zwift craft, talking about Wahoo Lacole. Actually, for that matter, all of these teams, to tell you the truth. You don't make it into the Zwift Grand Prix without having done your homework. This is the aforementioned Eddie Uhl, the South African, with Steinman up on the front. And I see Charles McCarthy now staying active, but you're not going to pull the wool over these guys' eyes, Nathan. This is a very experienced group. We saw the fire socks. There they were. The moment has arrived.
Eddie Uhl now on the
Nathan,
front,
let's
going
talk
bottom to
about
top,
those
it looks like,
socks.
just dragging these guys over the top. Yeah, the new fire socks, you can get those at level 50. They're a level 50 unlock, and it just happened with the most recent 1.29 game release. But now as we look at Eddie Uhl here, he's not too worried about his socks. It looks like he's just focused in on the top of this KOM at a almost 1 second gap. No, actually, if we look at this here, he's just dragging everybody along. And the likes of Duffy Jr. sitting at 3.0 watts per kilogram, they're about halfway up this KOM. Whew, this is going to make things pretty difficult for Eddie perhaps later on. Is Duffy struggling, or is he sitting in?
There's 2 opportunities to score points out here. Now, this is going to be really a tale of the haves and the have-nots, as 6-5, 4-3, 2-1. So these are the points that are offered 6 deep at 2 different locations. You could see one rider actually picking up a 12 points for his team out here. The power-ups in play, and I think this is the race where it's going to be the most critical that you catch a break. Everybody needs to catch a break at some point in their life, and these guys could sure use it right now. The arrow, the feather, the anvil, and the invisibility, as we see a little bit of a gap forming here, Nathan.
Yeah, we see Perot now, 7.8 watts per kilogram, right-hand turn. It's going to be, this is the moment. They're looking for the points. It's going to be Van Diem. Van Diem's going at 12 watts per kilogram. Does he have the jump on him? Duffy Jr. responds immediately. He's got the power to close it down. Here comes Duffy Jr., 14 watts per kilogram. Van Diem tries to hold on, and he does for second, but it's going to be Duffy Jr. The patience paid off. He waited like a snake in the grass and pounced for those 6 points.
Wow, a snake in the grass is absolutely perfect, like any good sprinter should. You're invisible. He almost has been wearing that cloak of invisibility throughout the Harry Potter cloak throughout the first half of this race. But when it mattered, he showed up, and now he's going to chill out a little bit. I think Brian Duffy might be the first rider ever in the history of the Zwift Grand Prix, and albeit we're only 3 races into the 5 races of the first race of the season. But this is going to be a very interesting moment, is can one rider completely dominate a race that has 2 very unique unique sprints. So Brian Duffy Jr., legend status has been unlocked. Luca Zanaska for the Castelli team right up to the front here. But again, that jersey there, the black, the green, and the blue, that's next and short. They've been the kings of the hill. Uh-oh, Sam Hill, the aero racer, in a little bit of trouble here, Nathan.
Yeah, Sam Hill actually used an anvil power-up. He wouldn't be anywhere near to where he is right now if he wouldn't have had that anvil, actually. He gained 50 kilograms to his avatar and is still 1.5 seconds off the back. McCarthy and Uli, they're out of this race, but Sam Hill, because of that power-up, may be able to get back on terms. This climb right here, they're not going to hit this too hard, I think, and he'll be able to jump across.
This is where it's so unique in Zwift Grand Prix. There's no teammates here to keep the pace high to help you keep other sprinters out of the group. You've got to do it all yourself. Brian Duffy Jr. is like, look, I'm an awesome sprinter, but I'm not 10 men. So ultimately, that's going to be, we're looking at the draft effect right there, which neither of these guys really in the mix. He's trying to get up into it. As you can see, that is like that carrot dangling out in front of the horse. You just want to get up into the draft, and you can see it just evaporating up the road like in the Sahara, watching that pond of water just going away. All right, back to the front group now, Nathan, although they have backed off the pace a little bit here.
Perot pushed up to 7 watts per kilogram there for a moment. He was not liking the fact that Sam Hill was coming back. He saw the 1.5 seconds, and immediately it looked like he saw Sam coming back. He said, no, I'm going to push the pace at the front. Look, now it's down to 3.9 that they've solidified that gap. They know Sam is there, and they do not want him coming back.
Yeah, I mean, once you get a sprinter out the back door, you not only lock that back door, you start putting padlocks on it, and guess what? He just kicked the door in, so he's back. That's a big save. Now, watch this. If Sam Hill can make the sprint and get points, that is going to be huge for the motivation for the aero team. You know the rest of the guys are sitting on their smart trainers right now watching Sam Hill, and they got to be giving him a big Aussie, oi, 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 way to go, Sam, getting back into contention here. So let's take a look. Can he do it again? Brian Duffy Jr., because Pim Van Diemen just shook his head saying no, he wants the 6 points. We've got another sprint coming up here in about a little more than 6.5 K to go out here in Yorkshire. Challenging course on Tour of Tewit. Well, third of 5 of our Grand Prix events for the men. The women will be out racing on the exact same courses, the exact same dynamics next week.
And now they're going to go on through the fields here, get a little nice scenery, not too much of an undulation until they do hit that pot bank in just a moment. That's going to be the next thing they're looking for. And it's the steepest part of this course. I think it bumps over 20% at one point. It is so sharp. And then after that, it flattens out for about a K or so, and then another climb before the downhill into a left-hand turn into the finish. So there's 2 climbs coming up. So that's why the pack has started to look at each other. Nobody wants to waste any energy, really, until they hit the bottom of this pot bank climb.
Every race is unique in the Zwift Grand Prix. This one is really set up in a 2-tiered attack. You've got that first sprint, and again, it was Brian Duffy Jr. taking maximum bonification there. And we've got the exact same point schedule on offer at the finish. 6 for the first rider over the line. So Duffy Jr. is going to be looking to take 12 points out of this race.
Kaminsky with the dropout. Kaminsky off the back. 10.5 watts per kilogram, trying to get back on terms. It looks like he's 5 seconds off. He's having to use his aero power-up. There's the fire socks, and now can he do it? Are they going to counter it? Are they gentleman's handshake at this point? Tanaska on the front at 0.5, so perhaps they're going to let him back in.
No, I don't know that you could ever get 10 guys to agree on anything in this world, let alone, but he is going to come back. That is amazing, to tell you the truth. How much does this take out of him here late in the race? I'm quite stunned, to tell you the truth, that he's able to rejoin, although he wasn't their main danger man, is what that tells me. Because if that was Brian Duffy Jr., you would think that everybody would just get on top of a big gear and try to continue to hold him out of that group. But in this case, it looks like they didn't want to burn that resource.
Jorge McCarthy and Uli, they are almost back on terms. They're 4 seconds behind after all the calmness, and immediately, bam, they hit the Bombay climb, and now Zanaska. Duffy Jr. on the 15% gradient, up into 15 watts per kilogram. He's looking to try and break them. Doesn't do so and backs off, it looks like, baiting out some efforts to see who can come with.
Yeah, and Kalman is one of the riders there in the black jersey, the Callis team. This is going to be very interesting. Joe Peralta having an exceptional ride. This is where that watts per kilo ratio really comes into play. That is an absolute monster when you look at what Brian Duffy Jr. is doing. This is a sprinter's climb, one of the tougher climbs in this world, no doubt about it. Amazing to see how many riders are keeping their head above water as we go inside of 5K to go. Pivotal sprint. This is really the middle part of the first ever Zwift Grand Prix.
In that scene just before, he looked so chill, Brian Duffy Jr. It looked like he was just kind of making sure I get over the top. Now we look at Joe Perot, and Perot as well, looking fairly chill, concentrated, making sure he's not putting out too much effort because he knows where the points are at out on course here. He knows that these little moves, you just need to make it into that pack. You don't have to do any more work than that. That's exactly what it looks like him and Duffy Jr. are doing, sitting in. These are the two FTP monsters, though, when it comes to this group right now. But Zanoska says enough is enough. Over the top, 9.6 attack now. Kalman looks to follow.
Yeah, and that's really the name of the game. Zanoska is off the front here as he's going to be the vanguard of this race. The Italian saying, ciao, bellos, I am gone. But is it going to be too early, Nathan? I think that's really the question. We've said that this is like racing out of a breakaway. There's no peloton. There's no rider that's got teammates that they can deploy to try to use for the chase back. Is Zanoska playing his cards right? I like the savvy Italian move.
And they're only sitting at 2.6 watts per kilogram behind. They're watching this go up the road. Are they just going to trust that the next climb is going to bring this walk all together? I mean, there is a very long downhill after that climb that maybe they're trusting if they can stick together. But if it separates between all of these riders, the truce is maybe not going to work out for them because Zanoska's got amazing FTP, 6.7 watts per kilogram. It looks like Castelli, presented by Elite, might be able to walk away with this one. It's almost 10 seconds, Dave.
This is a Machiavellian chess match if there ever was one, because if you chase too hard, you dull your sword for the final battle, and you can't afford to do that. But if you don't chase, then you're never going to make the catch. Do you start racing for 11 points now? If you're, excuse me there, 5 points, because 6 points for the first ride up the line. I might just go ahead and say discretion is the better part of valor and start racing for 5. So risk reward, that's what we're talking about. And it looks like Brian Duffy Jr. is going to go with the risk side of that equation, Nathan.
Looks like Duffy Jr. got sick of sitting around. 16 seconds, it says enough is enough. The DS in his ear. But look, what I think he's doing here is just making sure the pace picks up. As soon as you do that little bit of a punch off the front, and then everyone comes across to you, they will roll speed through, and he can continue to do that. If he goes to 6-7 at the front again, rest up, 6-7 in front again, and just keep on getting that rubber band effect going on, they'll bring Luca in little by little. But at 20 seconds, Dave, with only the climb left, it looks to me like has the room to make this happen. But they're going to climb bonkers in just a moment here. They're going to go absolutely flying orange numbers. I have a feeling that's going to get cut in half or maybe more.
Yeah, he's trying to use the Tom Sawyer technique there of showing them how to paint and then giving them a bucket and letting them do his work for him, and they weren't buying that. So this is it. I think that Lucas Zanoska has cracked the code. He's not coming back. It's gone up to 21 seconds with 2.5K to go. I'm expecting that the Italian will hold on and pick up the maximum bonification, which is 6 points. If that's true now, we're looking at a group that's going to be sprinting for second, and I really do think that reality is going to have to settle in on this group. And not all hope is lost. Certainly Zaneska cracks the code, but these riders now, Pim van Diemen and company, are going to be, I think, champing at the bit for a 5-point sprint here. Yeah, and that's the dynamic that makes Zwift Grand Prix so much fun to watch, is the traditional shutdown, cover and kill techniques aren't deployable anymore. It's a wild, wild west of racing.
20 seconds. Can 20 seconds be closed down over the top of this? What kind of speed is this group going to be holding? They're going to be looking at each other even on the downhill. They're going to be rolling through perhaps with some speed, but because they're not going to be working together like in a TTT format or even a group that's really got a couple of team members represented, I don't think we're going to see the punch and then coast, punch and coast that you usually see in Zwift racing. Now, they are bringing it back pretty fast here. That's 5 seconds that just got closed down in a quick 200 meters. So he's got to really continue on, because over the top here at 9 watts per kilogram, they are shutting this down fast. Here comes Kalman across the Perot, 9 watts per kilogram. Perot making the move with 2 seconds, and everybody's looking at him now.
Yeah, look at Perot, just a wattage cottage right now, and he
Anvil.
deploys the anvil. Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked about how critical the power-ups are on this course. Arrow, feather, anvil right there was absolutely ideal, and invisibility. So this right now, that anvil's made a big difference. The gap is down to 10 seconds at 1.5K to go. So Zanaska's in the fight for his life right now, trying to hold on to the front. It's going to be, it looks like Havo right behind Perot here. Duffy Jr. is sitting at 13 seconds back, actually a little bit less than that as it's coming down, and it's coming down quickly. But Joe Perot here, the Abus Lacole rider in blue on your screen has whittled this down, coming up on 1K to go to 8 seconds. It's going to be touch and go for the Italian. Will the Italian job pay off here in Yorkshire?
Zanaska looking to try and hold on, but here comes Brian Duffy Jr. now across as well. The pack is sitting in on his wheel. Havertz there as well. Zanaska 6.3 watts per kilogram. It's a left-hand turn in just a moment. This is going to be right on the edge. Perot went early because he knows he cannot match that 15, 16 watt per kilogram kick that Kalman and Duffy have, and they might be able to show it off here. They'll get Perot, but Zanaska with 7 seconds and a left-hand turn. Dave, I think he's going to do it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Nathan, and completely agreeing. I don't think it's going to be by more than a couple seconds, but it looks to me like Zanaska's been in the bank. He's got the money, and now he's hightailing his way around the Tour of Tewit, looking for the hideout there, and he's certainly going to get it. At this point now, Nathan, he's making enough power. It doesn't look like he's fading. This is going to be a huge one for the Italians. So welcome back to the top of the table. 6 points here. We'll see how that scores, because remembering Duffy Jr. is going to score a second time here. But it's going to be, well, there's our top 6 riders now just coming across the line. Let's see how we're going to score this one.
Haven't it looks like just ahead of maybe Perot, followed up by Duffy Jr. I believe that we saw across the line from the cameras. We'll take a look in just a moment at the actual finishing order. But what a move. Look at that. Castelli presented by Elite. They just recently used to be Team Italy, now just recently representing Castelli and Elite. Absolutely awesome to see what they pulled off out here today with that win across the line. That's going to get them those 6 points. But Duffy Jr. with consistency end up getting Next Esports presented by Short those 10 points. Hexagon presented by Cyrus. They come on through for 8th. It's going to be Abus Lacole with Perot there with 7 points in 3rd. Team Caselli presented by Elite. That monster move grabbing 6 points. It's going to be Movistar E-Team sitting in 5th on this round with 5 points. Wahoo Lacole for 4 points. 7th was Coalition Alpha with 2 points. Kels Esports, presented by Wahoo Burke, with 1 point. No points for Team Swedish Swifters or Arrow, as they made some early moves that ended up falling off the back of that KOM and unable to get back on terms, it looks like. So that's the situation for the top 10 for round 3 points.
Yeah, I have a feeling that when you look at this one now, you can see how one rider with all heart can make a big difference. As Team Castelli presented by Elite, they were shut out in that first sprint, and they find their way up into the top 5 with that exceptional effort there made in the second half of that race. So Nathan, time to get out your time trial bike, but we're going to be turning off the draft effect. This will be round 4 that we're looking at. The points continue to accrue here. So adding up the first 3 races, this 4th one is going to be very interesting. One of the more unique rounds that we have is we're going to be heading back to another World Championship venues. We just left Yorkshire and are heading over to Austria and Innsbruck Ring. Let's talk about this course before we have the riders out there going to battle.
Yeah, it's individual team time trial. It's a mass start, but with no draft. So that's why it's a team, excuse me, not team time trial, a time trial, excuse me. But it's not Thursdays today. That was yesterday. Parcours picker round 1, race 4. Distance is 9 kilometers, 77 meters of climbing, mainly going to be that leg snapper. Now, the sprint section, fastest through segment. So if you go through the segment for sprint number 2, it looks like out there, the fastest through segment for that will grab points through that. So for that, the allocation there, you'll be able to grab 2 points. Oh, excuse me, that's what it is. Innsbruck Ring Sprint, you get 2 points just for the fastest through segment. So if you want to go through for that and grab an extra 2 points, and I mean, why not, Dave? Think about that. You have a situation where if you get a little extra kick and it's going to gain you time, it probably is going to help you across the finish line as well. So why not go for it?
What a fine line that creates there, because to win this fastest through segment, and this has been something that it's a great example actually in the Zwift Grand Prix, how a lot of the things that we do with this racing would not be replicatable in real life. The scoring systems and the techniques that we're using, creating a whole new style of racing out here. And this is a good example. That fastest through segment, you don't do that, Nathan, as we've learned through many, many years of ZRL, by starting at the front and going as hard as you can. You have to be tactical about it. And usually that means surfing the group. So starting in the middle of the group and using the speed as they head, but there's no first across the line. So that sets the table for you. Let's just jump right in and take a look at who we've got racing with us now. Some big names again, and that's the theme of the day. These are all big names in the sport. But Nathan, who stands out to you as we get a look at the entries now for race 4?
Ollie Jones. I mean, 100%. 5.7 watts per kilogram for 20 minutes. This guy is a monster. Be on the watch out for him. One of the longest standing esports specialists in the world, riding for that Coalition Alpha, a part of the original Canyon Esports team. Ollie Jones knows what he's doing when it comes to this kind of a race. He knows how to time things really well when we've seen him in a regular scratch race and jump from a pack and stay away from them. He knows how to TT. This guy, I think, is really going to be a favorite out here today.
Kettleferup for Kalish and Jimmy Kershaw, other riders to watch. Let's take a look at the standings and see where we're at now after 3 of our 5 events that make up this first ever Zwift Grand Prix. And it's next and short after those efforts from Brian Duffy Jr. with 23 points moving to the top of the table, 2 points clear of Wahoo Lacole. Avis Lacole, 2 points behind them in third right now. Actually, it's amazing to see there are no ties at this point, as Movistar in fourth with 17 points. Coalition Alpha sitting in the top 5 with 13, just holding off Toyota Cryo RDT. Team Castelli, presented by Elite, in 7th with 11, just 1 point ahead of Hexagon there in 8th. Velocio sitting in 9th, Swedish Swifters 10th, Aero in 11th, and Kalish going to look to start climbing the ladder here. All right, Nathan, race number 4 coming up. Time trial bikes in play here, but no draft. So very unique way to race a time trial, especially throwing in, as you mentioned, that fastest through segment with 2 bonus points offered up.
It'd be interesting with next presented by Insured at the top. You know, they are known for being the kind of riders who can dominate the first 3 races that we've seen, right? We saw what Zach Neer can pull off with his consistency with the climb and seed a tree. We saw in race number 1 with John Brune, as well as what we just saw from Brian Duffy Jr. Consistency have put them at the top. Now, are we going to see something different, though, with this pure TT? Not, just everything you got on a flat course. Not necessarily something that we see next shine at. We'll see if they can pull something off here, or if some of the other teams are going to be able to make their way up the leaderboard because of the nature of this next race.
Really want to emphasize that drafting is turned off. That's obviously changes everything out here, Nathan. So even though it might look like the riders are in the draft, every man is out there on their own fighting the win. So taking a look now at, it's an interesting concept. We've done time trials like this in the past where you can see in real time exactly how you're doing in relation to your competitors. We've seen that technology used. I'm thinking of Olympic skiing, where they can show you overlaying different athletes on the course at different times. Well, somewhat similar to that, but Ollie Jones living up to your hype, Nathan, as he's been one of the strongest riders of all time in esports, and I think they're going to be chasing him for quite a while out here. Again, with no draft, I have to go back and take my statement about how you win this fastest through segment. Drafting will have nothing to do with it. Obviously, it's not about starting in the middle of the group and working your way through as it normally would be. In this case, it's just about putting together a strong segment.
With a 20-minute power of 5.7 or so, Ollie Jones probably coming in around the 12-minute mark. So these guys at the front end of this race probably pulling over 6 watts per kilogram for the duration. And with the kicks over the top of the leg snapper, it'd be really interesting to see what kind of power profiles they have at the end of this. But Ollie Jones, I think, it looks maybe like, oh, is he going over? Is this too much? But I think this is essentially just set your peak power profile and go for it. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's already got a 1 second. Is it going to be too much early on? It's all about that fine knife's edge, isn't it, Dave, when it comes to time trialing in a field like this?
Yeah, the old Occam's razor as well is like, you don't need to overthink this one. It really is pretty straight ahead. Just grip it and rip it for the most part. It's 9K of racing. He's already 1.5K in as we take a look at our leader here. Ollie Jones out of New Zealand is starting to open up a bit of a gap. We'll see if things change through, I think the most critical sector is going to be that fastest through segment where you're going to see riders looking to pick up a cheeky extra 2 points out there.
6.7 watts per kilogram, 483 watts. Look at the cadence, really good cadence, great form that you could see from him there. When we got him in camera there, he seemed very calm for somebody pulling 6.8 watts per kilogram. Ollie Jones, a monster here at 98, that cadence over almost at 100 RPMs actually, just a machine. Fury now looking to chase that down, not looking to allow too much of a gap to open up between him and those seconds and maybe save something for a kick at the end to try and win this. Van Alst there sitting in third. Turek now steady at 5.8, almost 6 watts per kilogram average. Little bit of a gap though going back to a group of riders who are watching each other, it looks like, for 7th, 8th, and 9th. It's going to be Hardenberg and O'Connor there represented. Then behind them, Cassidy, Burrow, and Squilari rounding out your 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Yeah, it certainly is different if you're hanging on by a thread at this point in the race rather than racing your race. And I get a feeling that Daniel Turek of the Next presented by Insure Team, and they are our top team after 3 races. I think he's racing on his schedule, Nathan, and that's what I would anticipate with an established rider like Turek here. Is he knows what he's doing. He's in his wheelhouse. As he is just on the wheel of Van Elst now, but Ollie Jones remains the class. He's got almost a 2-second advantage coming through the first third of this course here. 9K total, 6.1K to go. It's 77 meters of climbing, but the sting is in the tail out here.
Jimmy Kershaw in view. You can see the riding style of Kershaw as they hit this little bit of an uphill gradient. This is kind of a false flat section. If it was a scratch race, everybody would be watching each other and maybe driving a little on the front with a rider or two. But now, up and out of the saddle, interesting riding style there coming from the Movi style. Now here's Ben Russell, 7.2 watts per kilogram on the downhill. I think he's using this downhill section a little bit at 8.4 now, 500, 600 watts. He's given a good kick, and I think the reason for that is he knows that speed is still king out on this course. He ramps up the speed with that TT bike and allows himself to gain a lot of distance between himself and some of these other riders up ahead.
Look at Ben, how different his icon is versus in real life, as he is flogging himself like a rented mule right now, making almost 400 watts of power here. Heart rate getting close to 180, so an exceptional effort from the Wahoo Coal rider. They're having a tremendous day out here today in this brand new format. I have to think already that people are absolutely loving this. We sure appreciate all of the teams and their invaluable feedback to help get us to this point. And now it's time for these gladiators to have at it out here. This one, Nathan, is as surgical as it gets in our 5 rounds of racing. Nothing too fancy out here. Either you can make the watts or you can't.
433 watts, 6.2 watts coming from Stefan Van Alst as we get him in view. Looking concentrated, calm. He's not in that absolute drive it to the line mode that we almost saw from Russell. That I think Russell was really putting an effort to close down some seconds there a moment ago. Van Alst, a very different look here. Calm, controlled. He looks like he's got a plan, but at the same time, trying to put this effort in to hold on to those watts he currently has. He has Jones within striking distance. The question for me right now at this point for him, is this looking to close something down on the climb that's coming up for the leg snapper? Does Jones have anything left in the tank to hold on to this gap he's established? Because anyone who's held on to a little extra effort prior to the leg snapper, we may see them close down a big gap or gain a lot of time with a solid orange effort over the top.
Yeah, you want to keep a little bit of juice for the finale of this race. This score is very similar to the second race that we had. 12 points are waiting for the first rider over the line, and we'll work our way down to the 12th rider receiving 1 point out there. And I think Ollie Jones is all about a dozen points here. He's looking for that Baker's dozen, adding the 2-second bonus from the fastest through segment as well. He's growing his advantage here as he goes inside of 4K to go. So well past the halfway point. Ollie Jones just throwing more coal on the fire, and that fire has been absolutely raging. So this man is just barraging this course here in Austria today. Innsbruck ring being crushed by the New Zealander Ollie Jones. Behind him now, the advantage has gone back to 4.4 seconds to Gafuri. Van Alst at 8 seconds back in third. Daniel Turk still holding on to a top 5 spot. That would be worth 9 points, and actually Turk just moves past Van Elst now. So Turk pouring it on here, Nathan.
Looking at Jones, I have a feeling he may set the highest average power over the top of the leg snapper just now. I saw him started at about 8 watts per kilogram, and then settled into 7.5 or so. Russell may be the only one that does a little more, as I saw him up into 10 watts per kilogram for a moment there and is holding right around 8, so maybe he saved a little bit to close down gaps here, but now it looks like Russell may be fading. We're taking a look now. It looks like at O'Connor from Hexagon, 25 seconds back, chasing down Kershaw. This is Cal McConnor. Oh, up and out of the saddle. You can see the suffering. This section is so crucial to gain the speed back up. He rests up just a little bit, it looks like, and then gets right back into work here. Actually, no, 186 allows the weight to carry him downhill, but Jones still off the front at 7.4 watts per kilogram. The effort currently by our leader is absolutely insane, and he just continues to grow his gap. 7 seconds now over Gafuri. It's going to be Turek right alongside him. We got a battle for second plane out in front of our eyes as well.
Yeah, that's the real race going on right now, because Ollie Jones is going, gone. That's the rider that we see on screen right now. But back from second, it's Turek, who's done a great job of pacing himself. And the next insured rider is actually just giving up second place here to Gafuri. So this one goes back and forth, body blow after body blow out here.
And here goes Jones. I wonder if Jones has saved anything for these two extra points for the fastest through segments. I wonder if anybody behind is perhaps saving up a little something, going, look, all I can grab on the day today is maybe, or at least boost up, my points, because they've fallen back a little bit at this point. So perhaps some of these riders are saving a little for this section, whereas Jones, he's just going to roll through and grab his 12 points at the finish line, right? This is going to be all about first across the line when it comes to the finish line for Jones. Jones, I have a feeling, is maybe not going to be going for FTS here.
I'll be surprised if he doesn't get the FTS, to tell you the truth. With the ride that he's having out here today, he looks to be a level above anyone else. This is going to be Van Elst that we're looking at now. So these sprint times are going to be very, very interesting. Who's playing with the house's money, picking up those 2 bonus seconds? Again, it's what we call an FTS, fastest through segment, that happens in the second half of this race. And it was Van Elst.
Looks like
it might be still populating,
though,
Nathan.
We saw him come flying by the rider from Castelli presented by Elite just a moment ago. I think he was really focusing on that.
Yeah, I'm still thinking that it's going to be Ollie Jones, but it's not. It's Jones looks like he's in with a 22.307. So, wow, Van Elst with a 19.2, Nathan, looks to be the quickest. That's outstanding.
Is there a chase happening here for Ollie Jones? There's still a rider within sight. That'd be scaring me if I were Ollie. Ollie, wonder if he's got over 180 beats per minute at this point or so. I mean, he's got some distance, but that avatar looks to be closing. That avatar is closing.
Turek. It's Daniel Turk, but I don't think that he's going to have enough real estate to work with here. He's certainly going to give it a go, though. You want to talk about timing this perfectly. So right now, let's see if Ollie Jones has got a little bit more in the tank. You're going to watch the meters ticking down very quickly as they go down under 750. So we're confirming Van Elst does pick up those 2 points along the way. Excuse me, actually, it's Squilani.
And as we said earlier, Squillari holds on to those little bit of a kick and then only sprints for the 2 points because he was out the back. So he grabs a free 2 points then because he just focused on that. Look at him, a minute 17 back. He grabbed his 2 points. Jones trying to hold on. Turek, 2 seconds. He's still closing down. 6.7 watts per kilogram. It's going to be all about whether or not Turek has a kick to the line. Jones at 7.8. Not going to happen, it looks like. It's within 200 meters, and it looks like he's held off by 2 seconds,
Close,
though. Turek, he held back. This was close. He was back in 6th at one point, though, Dave. So Turek put in a valiant effort to the end.
I talked about experience and racing your schedule, not getting baited into racing someone else's race, and that's exactly what Daniel Turek did to tremendous success out here. But Ollie Jones is the man with a phenomenal ride, taking the win here in race 4 of the Zwift Grand Prix. We'll look at all the other spots coming through Van Elst. I thought he was going to pick up those 2 points. He probably did as well after that effort, but he gets pickpocketed there for those 2 bonus points. But he does hold on to a very respectable 3rd place, picking up 10 points for his team.
Russell across the line just now. Harburg in for 6. It looks like Jimmy Kershaw coming in at 7 seconds back or so at 5.0 as he crosses the line. Far up is there as well at 44 seconds back, currently in 8th place. O'Connor charging hard, trying to get the better of Cassidy, and he does. Dan Cassidy going to have to settle for 10th. Borel there for 54 seconds back, currently in 11th place. And Squillari, this is what a tactic. Maybe not having the best day on the TT. He waits for the sprint point and snatches 2 free points then because he just said, forget it, I'm just going to go all in on that, and he grabs them off the bat.
In for a penny, in for a pound, and every penny matters out here. So that will be Squillari that we're looking at now, I believe the final rider out on course to finish up, and that will move us into our final race out here as soon as we get Nick across the line. But you're right, cheeky little way to pick up a couple points, making the best out of a not ideal situation for the Aero team, the Australian esports racing squad that's had a huge impact down under. Yeah, they're probably busy watching the World Championships every day as well, Nathan. So a lot going on for our Aussie friends.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see. I mean, once he had settled in and said, look, I'm not going to be able to grab 3 points in the overall time. So at this point, I'm going to make sure I get better than last, right? So he went ahead and grabbed.
Good for him.
So he actually ends up grabbing points there for 9th place if it would have been just a regular 1 through 12 places. Nice job on Squillari there. Very smart by Team Aero in the way that they played that out in the end, knowing when to play their cards correctly out on course on this Innsbruck ring. Waiting for some of the points to populate for us. The next race is going to be downtown Dolphin, though, here. Race number 5. That's going to make things really interesting, Dave.
Yeah, and we'll have a chance to update the points for everybody out there. I hope you're enjoying this as much as we are. As Nathan, this has been a blast, a new format, brand new. And I think we really have cracked the code on what esports racing is all about, as we have found some very unique ways to really take advantage of the cool things that Zwift offers for us. So we have one more race here today, but again, reminding everyone, come back and join us next week, as the women will certainly put on a show for us. And I think every week, Nathan, we're going to be learning a little bit more, as you were noting with Nick Squillari there. Being aware of every little opportunity that you have is going to make a big difference. And these teams are well coached, well drilled, and certainly they keep their head on a swivel out there, looking for every point they can get. But we're running out of points, Nathan. Only one race left for the men here today.
Yeah, we are looking at the parkour picker round number 1 and race 5. It is the distance of 9.6 kilometers for this final race. The elevation is going to be a total of 83 meters. It's a points race. It's the burrito and the invisibility, which are a little bit more of utility or disruption power-ups, which are really interesting power-ups. They're not going to necessarily gain you speed to attack or anything like that, but they're definitely going to disrupt the knowledge as well as the ability to interact with the game. I absolutely love that they put these onto the final one here, especially with the reality that it is a 1v1, v1, v1 all the way through all 12 teams. So essentially that disruption is really going to matter for you as an individual. Points across the line all the way through lap number 5, and then the finish line is going to be 4, 3, 2, and 1 across the line as well. Interesting to see for this because there's going to be a sprint point for the arch. That's where the points are going to be every lap, but then the finish line coming very quickly afterwards. So that's a little interesting there with 8 points total or at the highest level if you're going to score double. Will there be an attack at the end for that final lap points and then go all the way to the finish line? You could score a lot if you're able to pull that off.
Yeah, almost a double dip as all of the sprints are scoring 4, 3, 2, and 1. So 4 deep. Let's go back and take a look at the results from the previous race as it was, excuse me, I think we're looking at round 3 points. So Coalition Alpha with 12. It's going to be next to Esport picking up 11. Avis Lacole with 10. Team Castelli at 9. Wahoo Lacole with 8 points out of the fourth race, I believe. The Movistar team with 6 points. Callus Esports with 5. Hexagon 4. 3 for Velocio. Aero with 3. And Toyota Cryo with 2.
Round 1 standings.
I'll throw it to
now
you,
next
Nathan, for the
presented by
standings.
Short, as you can see, 23 points right now. Wahoo Lacole with 21. It's going to be Abless Lacole with 19. Now, as you can see, next presented by Insured, sitting on that 23, but Coalition Alpha has closed things down by a lot after that performance by Ollie Jones. A lot of eggs put in that basket, but it's paying off here. Movistar E-Team currently in 5th with 13. Very close between 5th, 6th, and 7th with Team Castelli presented by Elite at 12 points in 6th. Toyota Cardi T in 7th, 11 points. Hexagon also right there presented by Saris in 8th place and 10 points. It's going to be Velocio in 9th with 9 points. Team Swedish Drifters with 4 points in 10th. Callus Esports, they're in 11th. And Aero sitting in 12th with 3 points.
So when we translate into the series points after we wrap up the 5th race here, it'll be 25 points for the top team, 18 for second, 15 for third. And we can talk more about that because it looks like things are already hotting up out here. That white jersey is not going to be anything to worry about. We're going to go back in and look at, that was just a Fred out riding. We're going to now take a look at the peloton here, Nathan. So it's 9.6K of racing with 83 meters of climbing. I don't even think these guys will feel the climbing out here. They're just going to feel the heavy, heavy burn as we've got a lot of sprinting to do at the points arches. 4, 3, 2, and 1 points for the first 4 riders over the line. Get ready for what will be bedlam here in downtown Dolphin, Crit City.
And as the riders line up for the first arch, we're going to see how things end up playing out here. Wahoo Lacole make their way to the front. Left-hand turn and a right-hand turn into the initial cobbles. We'll see how this plays out. Velocio are going to be the ones that lead things out here. Vidar Mayo now with a little bit of a kick of fire socks up and out of the saddle. And here we go. Vidar Mayo for the esports team here. Movistar 13.16 watts per kilogram. But will it be over the top? Lionel Viasen trying to make it happen. Lemnier no, though. Dawson. Oh, there's so much strength that it's going to be right to the line. And it looks like it's Nordal Svensson, I believe, that took those down.
Yeah, this is such an interesting group. Now, we do have the 2 Svenssons here. It's one has a D, the other doesn't. Matthias Svensson of Team Swedish Swifters. But what you were talking about there was the Norwegian Kalish Esport rider, Simon Nordahl Svensson there. So we'll be clear on that. But taking a look now, Dawson has been a breakthrough rider here on the Wahoo Lacole team. I expect him to be a big part of the conversation. This is going to be fast and furious out here on downtown Dolphin. Nathan, of course, you know well, a lot of folks' favorite quick course to race on, and we'll be watching the points very, very closely as point arch sprint number 2 will be here in just a matter of moments. That's again, some of the bigger names that we've got in esports, like Lionel Viasen of Coalition Alpha, are in this field, Nathan. There's Lionel right there.
As you can see, Bickley now making his way to the front. Lionel Viasen always going to be one to be watching out for sure. He definitely scored some points there in the first time around. Dawson now rolling through at 1.6. It's going to calm right on down through here. There are some opportunities to take the pack by surprise early on through here, perhaps. About half a lap to go to the next arch section, but there is a little bit of a bump here with some cobbles in the middle of this. A lot of times if I'm a part of this and I want to give it a go, right here is where I would give it a go if it wasn't just going to be a sprint to the line for the last 200 meters.
In the final ZRL season leading up to the Zwift Grand Prix, James Barnes was most people's champion of the season with 3 wins out there. James Barnes, the New Zealander, one of the OG Zwifters as well, is in the mix with the Next Insured team, and that's Barnes sitting up second wheel. Incredibly experienced, and he's got the legs to back it up, Nathan. No doubt. We've seen Barnes has been doing his work, showing up for Wednesday Worlds, and get ready, as it looks like the Norwegian Svensson is en fuego out here today. This is going to be, again, another sprint coming up very quickly. 4, 3, 2, and 1 points on offer.
Yeah, and that is going to be Christopher Dawson, formerly Christopher McGlinchey, if you did not know. So Dawson out there is going to be one to definitely be watching out for. He grabbed those 4 points just now. Burrito power up now being thrown down, and that is going to be Van Den Eck, though, is off the front with an invisibility. He caught them all off guard. Will he hold on? No, It's going to be Pardayans for Abus Lacole coming over the top, but that invisibility power up definitely grabbing those 3 points there for Van Den Eck. So there it is, Abus Lacole and RDT, they're the next ones to come through for some big points on lap 2 of this Crit City.
Nice use of the Ghost there. Burrito and invisibility, you got a 50-50 shot at picking up each one. So again, Nathan, that's a great catch on your part. Thank you. Formerly known as Christopher McGlinchey, Christopher Dawson, same human being, and he has a tremendous history in esports, the Northern Irishman, but Dawson you would have known as McGlinchey in the past. So thank you for that, Nathan. There's James Barnes, the next rider right in the middle of this group as they are burning in hot laps right now. There's Scotty the Squirrel as we roll by, and Nathan, I mean, I'm starting to wonder, is James Barnes saving himself for the harder second half of this race? Once people start getting a little weary, legs start getting heavy, is that when Barnes starts to pour it on?
I have a feeling you might be right about that. I don't think we've seen everything from Barnes just yet, as well as Viasen. I have a feeling that these two riders have been allowing riders to really burn a few matches and then look to really clean up in the later half of this race, perhaps. We'll see, though. It may also be that some of these other teams have waited until this moment to really stack the field. This is the final race, and it's really all on the line at this point. Next presented by the Short, they've got a little bit of a buffer of 2 points, but they've really got to show up in this last race if they want to hold on to that lead for this final race in the Parcours Picker, round number 1 of the Zwift Grand Prix.
I would think, Nathan, let's talk tactics and strategy, actually more strategy than tactics. Would you have put your strongest racer into this 5th event?
Most likely, because there's so
with
much
the huge points
here
on offer. Right.
Yeah, there's just so many points on offer here. I really would think that this is the one where you want to score the most and really win out in the end. This, along with the climb and seed a tree. So I think those two were really the ones to be watching out for. But I mean, when it comes to it, though, the consistency so far that we've seen, and now we see a burrito, though, being used by Dawson. There goes Chris Dawson off the front. Wahoo Lacole. Nice little move. And is he going to bait anything out? They all just watch him walk away, it looks like. They may not close this down, Dave.
Yeah, so that burrito there gives him the buffer that he was looking for. No one able to hold the wheel, and this is going to be Dawson now picking up 4 points. It looks like there's a tremendous volume of points in this 5th race. As Nathan mentioned, double the points that we see in any other race, and that's a big moment for Wahoo Lacole as the Empire strikes back out here. This is exactly what we were looking for in esports racing. What a tremendous way to create more excitement here. This one is going to come down most likely, Nathan, to the final sprint here. So we're already out 3 City downtown Dolphin. That's going to be Paradines coming back up to the front here. Can't afford to give Christopher Dawson any leash at all. Well, these guys are really racing their hearts out. Viasen.
Lionel Viasen. Is he making a move? That would be an interesting place to make a move. Is everyone going to start looking at each other? I don't see anybody on his wheel, and this is a rider that could walk away from everybody. He's been setting some new peak powers there. As you can see, Paradians come on through, Barnes and Mail. It's going to be Dawson there with one. I think, interesting enough, I'm wondering if that's got to be reversed, perhaps, as we do see Paradians, Dawson, then Nordal Svensson, Van Den Eck, and Mail, and then Barnes. That's the total riders' points at the moment.
Yeah, Jasper Paradine saying if it's going to be that kind of party, let's throw down. Because here we go inside of 4K of racing remaining now as we're starting to look at, wow, I'm really impressed to see so many guys keeping their head above water out here. I was expecting to see, so Vidar Mel, that's a name that we haven't called out yet, the Movistar rider. Boy, Nathan, Brad Bickley of Velocio, that's the rider in yellow and blue near the front. Let's see what he can do here. One of the really exciting things about the Zwift Grand Prix is giving every rider their moment in the limelight. You get a chance to punch the ticket for your team out here and get some more points. And that's exactly what Brad in yellow there is going to be trying to do.
Paradians, watch out for this guy. I mean, he's got such a kick. We saw him up in the 17 watts per kilogram for some very short periods of time so far. I have a feeling that Jasper Paradines for Abus Lacole has shown up to really bump them up in this leaderboard, maybe at this final race. But here's the Austin with an invisibility power-up. He went ghost mode now at this point. He's got the gap. Is anyone going to chase? If you end up chasing this, you're the lead-out man for the rest of the pack. They might just watch each other as the Lyle goes away. The duck is making it happen.
Yeah, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't at this point. That's exactly what bike racing is all about. One of the GOATs, the greatest of all time in esports, Lionel Viassen, the Belgian, is now on the attack, and he's put the accelerator down on the floorboard. So let's see how many points he can pick up. Paradines is not going to play around with this one. It only scores 4 deep at the sprint. So Viassen, it's Vidar Mel moving forward, Van den Eyck as well. Okay, heavy hitters only need apply at the front right now. Viassen throwing down the gauntlet, Nathan.
Viassen still at 4 watts per kilogram. Real quickly, I just want to give a quick apology up front that with the lack of points updating, we will get them as soon as we possibly can. But the action on the front from Viassen now at this point, with only 1.5 laps to go, will he be able to try and hold on to this 2.5 second lead? They are rolling through pretty well in this downhill, but if they don't close that down on the downhill here, and Viassen continues off the front, he's not really digging really deep in my estimation at this point at 5.1. He's keeping it steady to hold on to that gap and see if they don't chase. And then if they don't, he may just roll through and try and hold to the finish line.
Yeah, he doesn't want to poke the bear too hard right now, and it's such a unique situation here in the Zwift Grand Prix is no rider has a teammate to rely on. You are your own team at this point, and it looks like Viassen is starting to ride away with this one, Nathan. It's gone up and over 5 seconds. So Lionel doing what Lionel does.
To go. This is amazing, Dave. 6.2 watts per kilogram with 1 to go. And Dawson says invisibility power up 7.6 because he knows that having the duck off the front is not going to be acceptable. Coalition Alpha tries to walk away with it. So Wahoo Lacole say, send one up the road. They use the ghost power up. Now Barnesy now at the front for next year is maybe trusting too much. There's the lap 1 Crit City KOM. Dawson took those. We'll wait for some more points to update in just a moment. But Dawson did take that lap 1. Now he's looking to go across to get on line of Lassen's wheel, but that gap might be just too much, and we've got a hard charging pack in just a moment with only half a lap to go. Points over the arch and points at the finish line. Still plenty of points to grab in these final few seconds.
Boy, did Coalition Alpha pick the right rider to be their anchor out here as Lionel Viassen is going absolutely nuclear right now in Crit City. That's going to be Christopher Dawson, the one rider I would say that has any kind of a chance to make the catch because Viassen is in a different zip code right now than everybody but Dawson. It's going to be Bickley, then Paradines. Those are the last riders in the point, and that was a ghost. Wow, this is working out perfectly here for Viassen.
Viassen, 8 watts per kilogram. Dawson, the only man I would think in this pack at this point, of course, that make the catch, because there's 20 seconds back to Barnes. They're racing for 3rd place. There's 4 points for the line of Viassen and Coalition Alpha. Now Dawson trying to put it all on the line for Wahoo Lacole. 3 points for them, and now there's another 4 and 3 at the line. Vidar Mail charging hard from the pack at 16 seconds back. Will this final sprint bring the pace up high enough? I don't think so. Viassen and Dawson look gone at this point for 1st and 2nd, but Dawson fading 3.4. The pack may catch him, but Lionel Viassen, this guy has done it all in esports racing. We've seen it time and time again. Some of the most iconic rides have come from him, and now Lionel Viassen has done it once again here in the opening round of the Zwift Grand Prix.
Meet the new boss. It's the same as the old boss, as the Who would say. Lionel Viasen, no doubt your gold standard. It's going to be Christopher Dawson out of Northern Ireland and Wahoo Lacole coming through for second. But how about this as Paradines goes past Van Aert here. So this is going to be the battle for 2 and 1 points out there. As it looks like, well, Vidar Mel is trying to close it down. But Nathan, it's going to be Viasen, then Dawson. Van den Aert should hold on here for third. And the 2 points that go with that, and Jasper Paradines, or is it going to be Barnes? Barnes looks like maybe sneaking through and grabbing that final point for next and short. But Viasen leaving no doubt about it today, Nathan.
Yeah, and that final point is most likely going to matter. Dave, I really think that final point might matter because they were only ahead by 2 points coming into this last race, right? Race number 5 here, it was next presented by Insured, and then right on their heels were all the rest of those teams. And Barnes coming through for that final point might hold on for them for a podium placing in this round number 1 of the Zwift Grand Prix. Man, but Lion, I mean, he shows up.
It might be too little, too late.
He waits for the timing. And Lionel Viasen makes it happen in the end, though, Dave, when it comes for Coalition Alpha, for just putting on a show. When it comes to Downtown Dolphin, he showed us how it's done with that kick, gets away, and the steadiness and the coolness of the way that he took the rollers on the other side with a lap and a half to go. He didn't really attack them. He just made sure he kept the speed steady. He didn't overextend himself. And then once he saw he had 3 seconds, boom, 6-7 watts per kilogram, keeps the speed high, and just closes it out. Nothing else but what you'd expect from a guy like this.
Yeah, classic Lionel, that's for sure. The freight train off of the front. Have to go to Christopher Dawson. Again, Christopher McGlinchey from years past. A lot of credit, too, as he certainly punched above his weight out there. And while we're right now working on the results, Nathan, I must say that this format seems like a tremendous success. What a great way to spike the interest in esports racing. And when you look at all the hard work that's been done, and I do want to credit the teams for their feedback along with our team at Zwift for helping build this from the ground up. And boy, today felt awesome to get everyone back out and racing and do what they do so well. And I feel like the game changed today.
A little bit, definitely. I think this is a game changer. Super exciting racing all the way through. And, speaking to the teams that showed up in this final race, race number 5, we saw Paradians from Abus Lacole, right? We saw Coalition Alpha as well. Both of them really stacking this final race, it looked like. We saw Wahoo Lacole with Dawson show up. And then we saw James Barnes. I actually expected a little bit more from James Barnes out there today. I have been hanging out in his Twitch channel, chatting with him a little bit here and there. And I do know he's on, gaining fitness back. He was talking a lot about that. He's been showing up to Wednesday Worlds a lot with the Z racing, the individual racing, and throwing down there. I have a feeling we're going to see him come on stronger as this Grand Prix goes on. I'm not feeling like I saw the James Barnes I'm used to, though, in this race number 5.
One of the things that I really love and I felt today, Nathan, was the level has gone up. It's not that James Barnes is coming down. It's that the rest of the guys are getting stronger. They're better prepared. Next is not just going to have their way like a cat with a mouse out here this season. If they do hold on to win, and neither being for or against Next, I'm for great racing. And that is exactly what we had here today. You can see the combativity is at an all-time high. The respect has been tremendous. And these new formats are allowing, again, the key here is every racer has an opportunity to have their moment for their team. And it can be a significant moment. And certainly, I think that's one of the coolest things, Nathan, is if you look on the Discord channels or listen on the Discord, that these teams are there supporting these riders while they're out there and then supporting their teammates once their race is done. Same thing for the squads that are smart enough to have a men's and a women's team. The ladies were out there cheering for the guys today, and then the guys will have their turn to cheer for the women next week as the ladies will be out racing in this exact same format. And I'm already looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think with what we saw in this past race as well, maybe the training that's been going into this, Lionel's been really quiet. Coalition's been kind of quiet. Canyon Esports, and it's been like, where are they in the field? All of a sudden we see in these final few races, Ollie Jones shows up and walks away with it. Then we see Lionel show up and walk away with it. I have a feeling that that was kind of the strategy coming into these races. Where are they going to shine, and which races can they aim at specifically to get the most out of them? That's the beauty of this parkour pickers, isn't it, Dave? That each of these teams were able to
Absolutely.
figure out exactly where their talents were and then show up for them and show off and shine within each one of those races for where they really are an esports team.
I think this answers a lot of the questions, Nathan, about how is cycling a team sport? Well, this personifies that perfectly when you look at it. Every rider has their chance to make their mark, and that's really what we've been looking for. So, good job to all of our racers out here today. I know that this format being brand new, obviously we've got some work to do on getting everything dialed to be perfect, but we're getting there.
Yeah, we're going to look at what's coming up. I think we're going to be taking a look at round number 2, perhaps, or as well as we also have
We have the
next week. We're going to have the women out on the same course. But here's what's coming up actually for all week: the Z Racing, which the Get Rolling stage number 4 on the New York Park Perimeter course, and then on Tuesday we've got the Zwift Racing League. It's going to be the team time trial for stage number 3. That's going to be a lot of fun to be watching. We'll be covering that over on Zwift Community Live for the EMEA division. And then on Friday, we've got Zwift Grand Prix round number 1 for the women's series kicking off. You'll see these same races, but the women are going to go jump out on course and show what they've got for this Zwift Grand Prix for the year. Stage 4 of that Z Racing, though, that's definitely something that's been a lot of fun. The Get Rolling, Dave, we've been featuring that with the Wednesday Worlds over on my Twitch channel. That's been a lot of fun to do because you can compete at the same time every single week in a GC league that is continually going on to try and get the best time in that GC. So you can check that over on ZwiftPower.com, the Get Rolling League. That's been so fun to participate in, Dave.
Yeah, another thing that I really, really love about what we've been doing with Zwift Racing and esports is that this is for everyone. The D level racing, we've had a lot of fun, Nathan, on Tuesdays with some of the Ds and the C groups out there. They're working just as hard with tremendous spirit, and it really is a sport for everybody. No matter what level you're at, you'll get a lot out of racing on Zwift. So esports really having its moment here in 2022. It's nice to feel a bunch of new energy out there.
100%. And for the season overview, round number 1 is this parkour pickers. And then round number 2, it's going to be an elimination omnium. Round 3 will be a squad skirmish. Round 4 is going to be points elimination reverse. We'll have a little bit of a break between round 3 and 4 from October 21st all the way over to November 18th. And then we have round 5 as elimination omnium, and then an individual relay in round number 6. That's going to be the season that we'll have initially. Then all the way out in March, we will have the finals with the format that's going to be determined. But lots of new formats, Dave, tons of them that are going to be coming at us. This parkour pickers, it's just the tip of the iceberg of how many different new formats we're going to be able to take a look at and experiment with these top esports racers.
And cooperation with the UCI, you're going to see a whole new World Esports Championship this year as well. And that'll be integrating a lot of the aspects that you're seeing in the racing here today. So you talk about turning points out there at the beginning of the broadcast, Nathan, I was mentioning on the timeline of esports. Well, it really, all of this, I mean, Nathan was showing up with friends meeting at a signpost at 6:30 on Tuesday nights, 5, 6, well, we're talking about 7, 8 years ago. Now, how far we have come as this was much more than just trying to replicate what a point-to-point bike race, trying to really look at what makes Zwift fun, what makes this format unique, and then building on that, which is exactly what we were doing out here today with our 5 different styles of racing. And as Nathan was just reiterating, we've got a lot more new stuff coming down the pike for you here. So stay tuned and certainly get out there and race yourself.
Yeah, you're talking about the evolution of events. Well, this is definitely at the end, at the pinnacle of what that is currently. Let's go ahead and take a look at some replays from the races out here today, though, and what all went down in race 1 through 5. Race number 1, take a look at this. Here is the finish, and it was Wahoo Lacole up and over the top with that kick, the arrow power up. It was modding. The rider that we discovered out of the community racing, actually, who now wins the first race in round 1 with this parkour pickers. Bruin, they're in for second, Dave.
All right, so that was the first of 5, and then we had a chance, and that's another one of the really cool things here. We did stay in Mercury Islands, but we moved to our, what I would call the hill climb out here. It started off fast and furious as the sea to tree. It was 3.9 kilometers with 120 meters of climbing, and these guys really threw down. There were 12 points waiting at the finish line for the first rider, and it was Mr. Leonard Tugels, well-known, respected esports racer, and he delivered for Avis Lacole.
Yeah, what an amazing ride there from Tugels throwing down. Alvarado able to come through for second place over the top of Brandland in that race. If we remember that, it was a very amazing effort by Brandland to try and get across and hold on, but Alvarado played it smart out there. This was the move coming from Castelli, presented by Elite.
Yeah.
Zanasca across the line. The Italian goes early right after Pop Bank climb, holds on all the way to the line. Then it was a sprint to the line. Duffy Jr. actually taking second there to the Hexagon rider. And then it was actually taking third, maybe perhaps even, as I believe it was Perot in for second coming from Avis Lacole. And the rest of the pack there following it up out on the Yorkshire Tour of Tewit. Well, the points race, the KOM, and into that final kick to the finish line. That was a tough one, Dave.
Yeah, that might have been the toughest, to tell you the truth, when you look at the work that was done out there. Well, we broke out the time trial bikes, but we turned off the drafting effect for our next race as we headed over to the Innsbruck ring. This was another one that had to hurt. Ollie Jones was and fuego out here, the New Zealander on the Coalition Alpha team. His gap was fairly large. It went up to nearly 10 seconds in the finale, but the heat was on, as there was also a fastest through segment out here, which was a unique wrinkle to, can't really call this a time trial, to tell you the truth. It was a points race, but a little bit different than the others. And that led us into our 5th and final race, the frenetic visit to Crit City in downtown Dolphin.
Downtown Dolphin points race. It was the arch, and the finish line. It was absolutely crazy. 5 laps with points each time. Lionel Viasin, he played his cards right. He waited and waited until those final couple of laps and then attacked full gas over the top of the final arch and held on. Here are the results from that race as we were waiting for them to populate. And there it is. It is going to be Coalition Alpha tying with Wahoo Lacole. Dawson versus Viasin. What a lineup there. Avis Lacole coming through for third. Toyota Crowd RDT in fourth. Movistar E-Team in fifth. It's going to be Callus Esports presented by Wahoo Burke in sixth. Next there, come on through and just squeak in with some points with James Barnes in seventh place. 0 points for 8th through 11th. I believe that Castelli, presented by Elite, had a disqualification or removal, so will not be scored, but also 0 points across the board for that round 5 here in this first go of the Grand Prix.
Now we can take a look at the standings from round 1. This is all 5 races. You can see how it's stacked up, and congratulations to Wahoo Lacole. 23 points on top of the table, as they'll collect the 25 points that goes with our first place team's round 1 win. 21 points there for Avis, as they're in second. That's Avis Lacole there with 21. So that's a good look at our standings. As Avis Lacole in second, Coalition Alpha third. Next, Esports with 9 points sitting in fourth, Movistar in fifth, Toyota Cryo sixth, Team Castelli in seventh, Hexagon in eighth, 9 right now for Callus, Velocio in 10th, Team Swedish Swifters 11th, and Aero in 12th.
Oh, it looks
I'll
like
throw it back
Wahoo
to you,
Lacole
Nathan.
going to be. Yeah, it looks like Wahoo Lacole are going to be at the top at the end here. Abus Lacole just being edged out there. It's going to be Coalition Alpha in for third. So interesting to see how Next unable to hold on to that top spot.
Yeah.
And
It's going to be a great
amazing job
season.
here, I think. I mean, amazing job all around to all the teams. It's been really exciting to cover here. Parcours Picker, I think it's a hit. As far as 5 races like this, back to back to back, and being able to shine each one of the team's talents, really cool.
Well, thanks again to everybody for joining us. Thank you to all of our athletes. You really are the gladiators in the arena. We saw some brave performances out here. And I think to everybody watching, to all of our racers, and certainly everybody out there on Zwift, let's keep this momentum going. Right on.